Hey there, it's Anna. Welcome to the garden. So today I actually wanted to take you on a little tour of the September garden because everything is just coming into its own. The mums are blooming, which I know is kind of a limited thing, so I wanted to sneak out here and just give you a tour of where we're all at. And I just finished watering and kind of doing a little bit of maintenance and care, so everything is looking a little bit wet. Hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on, and we have so many new seedlings coming up. A lot of the fall garden is in and now just starting to grow. First, the most exciting thing that we found in the garden today, little monarch just hatched in a grow bag. So this is the grow bag right here. A squirrel got in here as well, but where I had the Mexican milkweed and some salvia growing. I'm going to actually probably plant in lettuce here in a little bit for the fall garden, but I had noticed that I was no longer seeing any of the caterpillars on milkweed, but it was because they were ready to go. So that has been great. I also did pop in lantana in here, and this is just this really beautiful like orangish lantana. I think it looks so nice in fall and kind of goes with the milkweed. They're kind of the same color, but since it's fall, you know, you can't really have too much orange, and it contrasts so nicely with that blue. And over here in the rest of these containers, the basil is still doing amazing. This whirlwind scarola is one of my favorite flowers this year, and I'm definitely going to be planting a lot more of this next year. I have big plans for this. I'm so excited. It comes in a few different colors. There's like white and the blue, and then like there's a few pink varieties as well. I've also seeded up a couple containers with some fall green. So there's going to be dazzling blue kale in this one. I've got some sort of fungus situation happening, but dazzling blue kale will be in that container. And then I have some lettuce coming up in this one. Some of these tomatoes that I planted here in July are starting to produce, and so that's really good to see. I don't think it gets quite enough sun in this particular spot, or maybe there's just too many other plants kind of shading it out, but I am starting to see a few, and the temperatures have cooled down, so tomatoes in my area do tend to drop their blossoms, especially when it gets, you know, up over the 90s, which it has been. So now we're cooling down. It's been in the 80s Fahrenheit, and they're doing much better. They're much happier. And then our hanging baskets, I've got some of this sweet potato vine, which I'm really liking with the Diamond Mountain Euphorbia. And Euphorbia is a nice one because this will last pretty well into the fall here. It can handle a little bit of a frost. So I kind of planted it in a couple hanging baskets, and as the season goes on, I like it more and more. The overall look is nice, and the overall look of the sweet potato vine from the hanging basket is good too, and it's done pretty well considering I always think of these as having like a really big root system, and obviously they can sometimes grow potatoes, but it's done well in a hanging basket. And I did also plant a little sneak preview of a little fall hanging basket I've got there with some violas. And then we'll cruise around this way. So the Morris Heading collards are in here. There's some bull's blood beets coming up as well, and then a few of the peas. These are the ones that I started inside. They're not having the easiest time. They're not really growing too much. You always hear that peas are better direct sown, and I was trying to push that so that I could have a better pea harvest for the fall. A whole video about why I was doing that, but the verdict at this point is that it's not working very well, and so I may have to just take peas out of my fall garden. They may just not be something that grows well for us in the fall, which is fine because they usually do really well in the spring, so not too big of a worry. And then this corner of the garden is making its transition into fall. I did change out all of the annuals. So I cleaned out the pond, and I added a goldfish. I think you can see him in there. He's hanging out down by the water lilies. Let's see if I can get it to kind of focus. So I added a goldfish, and we still got the ruby red minnows as well. And yeah, the pond is doing well. I just kind of cleaned the whole thing out, and I think it's looking pretty good. These plants in here are kind of starting to languish as we get to the end of the season, so I'm going to think about some different things. I had a Little Prince papyrus which has been beautiful. And then also just Creeping Jenny. But I haven't been loving the Creeping Jenny so much. It's a little bit messy once it gets into the water. It grows really, really big roots. And I don't know, personally, it didn't quite do what I was looking for. But, you know, that's just part of the process. And so I'll keep it in there for now. It's a perennial, so it'll come back in the spring, and I have plenty of time to try to decide, you know, whether or not I want to grow it in there again. Papyrus has done well, and even though this isn't completely full sun, there's definitely a lot of shade on this container pond. It's done okay. You can see it gets like a sliver of sun where I've tried to put the fountain. The other day this was really cruising along, but today it's a little bit cloudier. The sun keeps going behind the clouds. So then over here, I planted in some of these Famosa cabbage that I have, and then these black sorbet violas, some Color Max violas, and this really pretty purple, and then some pansies, which are kind of just out of bloom for a second here, as well as Dusty Miller, which in zone 7A, like me, is actually a really good fall plant and will grow into the winter too. And then we have just the perennials back here. I've put in coneflower, these really gorgeous black-eyed Susans. Let me see what the tag is. Here's the tag, Blackjack Gold. I keep forgetting. Oh, look at all those snails. I keep forgetting what the name of this is, but I think it's my new favorite as far as rudbeckias go. I really like how like small and kind of wildflower looking the little flower. And then the fig is doing great, still ripening its little fig, so I'm getting a little nervous that it's not going to ripen in time, but hopefully it'll ripen by the time we get to our frost. And then this is a Chicago hardy fig, so it will die back, and I'm going to keep it just in the container over the winter, probably keep it either in the unheated greenhouse or up by the house so it's a little bit more protected. It should die back because of the cold, but then reflush in the spring, which is nice if you live in a little colder climate. I think its coldest zone is a zone 5. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it goes down to just about a zone 5. And then behind that, we have this bed over here with the lettuce, which I have resown, which is coming up. And then I have all these tomato seedlings volunteering in here. I gotta get those out. And I resowed some more carrots. These are the coral carrots, just like a nice 8-inch classic carrot. And I resowed some more bunching onions as well, because as you can see, we've had a lot of pest pressure. I know I've been talking about it on Instagram, like just so many squirrels, and then also all of the little snails and bugs and things coming and eating all my seedlings. So I did put down some slug bait, which does help. It isn't the prettiest. Definitely makes the garden beds look a little bit, you know, not so great, but it's kind of the only way to get the seedlings going. And here, in contrast to my other peas, these I actually direct sowed. And these are, I believe I planted some Oregon sugar pod, and then I also planted in some of the ruby blush peas. I'll have to look back at what that name is, but they are taking off and doing really well. And I've got to kind of train them over here to these poles so that they can start to grow up the trellis, because I'd like them to just continue to grow up the arch trellis here, and then as the tomatoes taper off, we'll have the peas coming in. And here are our fall containers. Everything is doing well. Even the basil is looking good. The cabbages are starting to fill out. These little Calbricoa are probably not getting as much sun as they could, and my purple peppers turned red, but I'm not mad about that either. I think they look really cute. And I've done a few different things since the last tour. We've got a Gomphrena in here now, which I think kind of adds and ties in other parts of the garden. Got that little bit of pink. This is licorice basil. I got the seeds from M.I. Gardner, and it's a really, really fun basil. Smells really good, and the bees love this. Basil, if you do just want to let it go flower, is such a huge bee attractor. It's also pretty. A lot of people use it, you know, as filler plants in arrangements, but I think it's kind of pretty like on its own just in the garden, and the licorice basil especially. It has these really long bloom stalks, and yeah, as I said, just bees everywhere, as they are with the catmint and all the things here, which are still doing well, just like they were last video. My clematis is growing up and taking off, which I'm very happy about. Got the phlox back there. The ginger is looking really big. I'm gonna wait until the frost and then harvest this and see how much we got. I'm very curious. I love to know like what's going on in the garden. So root crops like this are so hard for me because I'm so curious what's going on under there. But I think it looks to me like we definitely have grown at least a little ginger, and it's kind of a cool looking plant right there, and doing really well in about part shade, which I'm kind of surprised, but really happy to see. It's good to know when I have things that I can kind of push the limits on, and that is one. These containers are doing well. These mums are in their full glory right now. I just got these like from a box store, and we'll see. They're probably gonna be out of bloom here pretty soon, and so then I'll have to go and either grab something else or another mum just to stick in this pot. But everything is looking good. This cabbage is particularly happy. Kind of getting long and stretching, so we'll see how that goes as far as the overall look of the container. But I like this particular trio. I think that's really nice and so perfect for this time of year. Black petunias, one of my new favorites. These are black magic petunias. Really beautiful. I just pulled out the eggplant that was here. The squirrels found it and were starting to eat the eggplants off it. And I kind of wanted to keep the plant going, but I knew that it would just end up attracting more squirrels, which I don't want in the garden. If they can stay out of the garden, that would be great. And yeah, might as well just take it out, and that's like one less thing that they really want to eat. And I wasn't going to be getting any eggplants off it anyways. The eggplant came off, and then I just left this tower in there. I think that's kind of nice. And we've got, let's see, the tomatoes. The Juliet tomatoes are getting wild. I've kind of given up on taming or training them, as you can tell. But I think that adds to the look. I probably should come in and tie some of these branches back up because they're starting to get a little wild. Let's see if I can get it on the arch. Okay, I managed to hook that one up on the arch, and that adds also the vinca. This is from the hanging basket all the way up there. It's growing down, and it is almost to the ground, just about like 2 feet from the ground. I think it's so fun. A little obnoxious when you're walking through it, but really just like a fun little addition. Okay, so then over here is more fall plants, more Morris Heading collards. These are the giant red mustards. These will be beautiful, big plants as the season goes on. And we have some peas along the front. These are the Tom Thumb peas, so they will not need any kind of a trellis or anything. Again, I direct sowed these, and they're doing really well. So that was great to see that they can handle being direct sown even in like the current temperatures. They're doing good. I might need to spray them with a little something. It's like a little pest pressure. And then I've got some like lettuce, and I think I put cilantro right there. I didn't label the beds, but I did take some video of it. So yeah, I think that's. And then let's see, this bed is just all flowers. Look at that salvia. Is that color not amazing? Next to more of the super blue angelonia. We've got some gara in here, some lantanas. There is a dahlia in here. It's that Figaro mixed dahlia. And now really the perfect color for this season. I should mention that the bees are very happy with so many of these bumblebees all over everything. They're all over the phlox and the snake root, which is about to bloom. Something is going on with this snake root. It's looking wilty all the time, so I'm gonna need to get in there and try to figure out at the end of the season what is happening with it, or pull it or something, but it is still blooming, as you can see. So hopefully it's okay. I like the look of it, but not when it's gonna wilt all the time like that. And that's just something I feel like happens to all of us. You know, some things for a reason, or even sometimes without a reason. You don't know what's going on. They just don't work, and so it's like, give it a couple years and then see if we need to put in something else. Peppers are good. I cleaned this bed out. We've replanted with a bunch of fall crops. There's kales and watercresses, and then we've got the peppers in here still, and I'm going to try to keep them going till frost because the plants just look so healthy. I am loving growing peppers. They are just the healthiest, happiest plants in my garden. I appreciate that so much. It's nice when you find something that's not bothered by pests and will just grow and produce and do well for you. And for me, that really, peppers are probably my easiest, least bothered plant, and so they're becoming one of my favorites because that's just amazing. The poblano has started putting on peppers again. So we've got a couple poblano peppers in here, and I did just stick this big trellis on it so that it could hold it up, because this is a really pretty tall plant and loaded with blooms. I think in the hottest part of the summer it was dropping some of its buds, but now it's starting to put peppers on again. And then we've got the jalapenos, and I do need to come in here actually and harvest some of these gypsy peppers. See if I can do this one-handed. There's arugula, watercress along here, some kales. All these beautiful peppers. Great for snacking, just like an easy snack pepper. I've also got arugula in this container, and I did plant in some violas, lettuce, kale in these. We've got the really gorgeous mango tango anise hyssop, which I actually really love too. I definitely like orange in the garden, which is a surprise to me because I don't think I like orange really anywhere else, but orange in the garden, at least this year, it's one of the colors that I find I'm really being drawn to. Okay, so the last section of the garden is just the unheated greenhouse space. We've got the grow bags here. I'll see if I can get a couple more eggplants before the squirrels find it. And my big hardy banana, looking beautiful and kind of filling up this space. And then over here is the little unheated greenhouse space, which pretty soon will be, I'll put the top back on and let this become a bit more of a greenhouse. But right now it's holding up the tomatoes, which looks like I should be getting a tomato soon. That's starting to turn. It's going to be a really pretty, I think it's called Yellow Boy. It's going to be a pretty yellow tomato, so that's exciting to see. And this was one of the ones I planted in July. It's grown beautifully. It's flowering a ton. And so we should have, hopefully, some more tomatoes here before frost. We'll see. It probably will only have time really to just ripen these that it has down here, but it has a good, 6, 7, 8 tomatoes. And then the Gonfrina, my favorite, truffle pink Gonfrina. Some Italian leaf parsley that hopefully will grow all winter. I'm planning to just keep this container right outside the greenhouse and have it full of parsley, which would be lovely. I moved the butterfly bush over here because this is like the most full sun that I have. Just need to come in and deadhead a little bit, but it's doing really well, and I have seen a lot of butterflies on it, so that makes me happy. This has been a good year for butterflies. Seeing that monarch caterpillar was really encouraging. It's been my best pollinator year so far, and I'm thinking maybe they just, they had to find the garden, and now they're starting to, which is wonderful. Here's my little perennials that I potted up. And I've got Russian sage I'm trying to save. So that is the September garden. Definitely fully moving into the fall garden, which is one of my favorite seasons. And a lot of these plants will keep growing over the winter. So I will keep you posted on how they all do. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.